You think you know Stranger Things, right? Well, what if I told you that before Hawkins, before the Upside Down, there was a totally different town, a completely different name, and a story that was actually rooted in a real-life conspiracy theory? Okay, let's dive into the original pitch document that started it all.
This right here, this is where it all began. This is the cover of the original show Bible. You know, the blueprint the Duffer Brothers used to sell their whole vision. And notice the title. It's not Stranger Things, it's Montauk. And that one single kind of haunting image of an overturned bike, it tells you everything you need to know. A mystery was always going to be at the very heart of this story.
So let's start peeling back the layers. What exactly was Montauk, the show that would eventually become Stranger Things?
Right from the very first page of the pitch, the whole concept is crystal clear. The setting is Montauk, Long Island, not Indiana. The year is 1980. And get this, the creators saw it as a single, totally self-contained 8-hour epic. Think of it more like one really long movie instead of a multi-season show. This quote from the pitch, man, it perfectly captures the show's DNA from day one. It tells you everything you need to know about the tone they were going for. The creators weren't trying to hide their influences. They were totally celebrating them. This was always meant to feel like some lost classic you just stumbled upon. Okay, this is where things get really fascinating. The whole supernatural side of the show, it wasn't just pulled out of thin air. It was actually inspired by a bizarre, real-world conspiracy theory.
And here is the direct connection. On the left, you see the pitch document describing a decommissioned Air Force base called Camp Hero. And on the right, that's the real Camp Hero in Montauk. Giant, imposing radar dish and all. So the location wasn't just a random setting, it was the entire inspiration for the story.
So this real-life base is at the center of this sprawling conspiracy theory called the Montauk Project. The pitch just pulls directly from the rumors surrounding it. Secret government experiments in telepathy, time travel, contact with aliens, even opening up alternate dimensions. Does any of that sound familiar? Yeah, these weren't just random story ideas. They were ripped straight from local legend. So with that whole real-world conspiracy as the foundation, how did the actual story play out? Well, you might be surprised by just how much of Season 1 was already there from the very beginning. The pitch lays out a perfect 3-act structure across 8 episodes. Act 1, Will Byers vanishes. Act 2, the town gets haunted by a tear between dimensions. And Act 3, our heroes have to go into that other dimension to rescue Will. I mean, this is beat for beat the exact plot of Season 1. The pitch spells out the central mystery in no uncertain terms. This was never a simple missing person case. Nope, it was an abduction by otherworldly beings that were accidentally let loose during a secret government experiment. The core of the entire series was locked in from the start.
So, the plot was there, the setting was there, but what about the characters we've all come to know and love? Let's meet the original residents of Montauk.
Okay, first up, the heart of the show, the kids. The pitch establishes them as this Dungeons & Dragons playing group of friends whose little fantasy world is about to become terrifyingly real. Seriously, reading the original character description from Mike Wheeler feels like meeting an old friend. The pitch describes him as this cute kid with a birthmark on his cheek, just crippled by insecurity who finds his escape in fantasy. The core of his character, that longing for adventure and connection, it's all right here on the page. And of course, the kids' adventure leads them to their most important discovery, this mysterious girl who has these incredible powers. This is one of the most direct and telling lines in the entire pitch Bible. The Duffer Brothers knew exactly what they were creating. They explicitly compared the dynamic between Mike and Eleven to Elliot and E.T. She was the lost, powerful, scared creature, and he was the lonely kid who was going to protect her. And they even included this iconic still from E.T. in the pitch to really drive the point home. This image of a kid encountering something extraordinary in a backyard shed. I mean, that's the entire emotional core of the first season, visualized before a single frame was ever shot.
But it wasn't just about the kids. The adults of Montauk were just as important, and it all started with the town's cynical and broken chief of police.
Now, the pitch does sketch out a frantic mother named Joyce, but the most deeply drawn adult is definitely Chief Hop-Hopper. He's painted as this deeply tragic figure, living in a shack, medicating his pain with booze, and just haunted by the death of his young daughter. And the pitch is super clear. He took the job in this quiet town to hide from the world, which makes his eventual transformation into hero that much more powerful.
So much changed from Montauk to Hawkins, obviously. But what's truly remarkable is how much of the show's fundamental identity, its soul, remained exactly the same.
The whole feel of Stranger Things was non-negotiable from the start. The pitch called for dark, cinematic visuals, a timeless quality to its 1980s setting, and crucially, that signature sound. They specifically imagined an eerie synth score inspired by masters of horror like John Carpenter. That soundscape we all know and love? Yeah, it was part of the plan all along.
The pitch also describes this dual approach to horror. It was never just about the monsters. You have the supernatural horror, the stuff from other dimensions, but you also have the human horror, the real-world struggles with abuse, divorce, and all the darkness hiding under the surface of a small town. The show was always about both.
But here is maybe the biggest surprise of all. The original pitch for Montauk was designed as a totally standalone story. It had a definitive beginning, a middle, and an end. The plan was to wrap everything up in 8 episodes, no loose ends. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. I mean, the creators had a sequel idea just in case, but their main vision was a single, perfect story. So how different would pop culture be today if Montauk had just stayed a one-off, 8-hour epic? What if we'd said goodbye to those kids way back in 1980?